What's going on, YouTube? This your boy Richie Rich the Trucker, trying to make $1. Hopefully I don't make any sense. Hope not, man. What's going on, everybody out there? Just want to bring you a quick update, man. I got a question in my one of my subscriber feeds asking me to explain the lease purchase here at Prime. So I'm going to explain it real quick while I got some time. It's about 1 in the morning, maybe 1:30 in the morning, out here in the middle of Kentucky somewhere. I'm inside of a truck stop that is jam-packed, man. And I'm gonna tell you something. I want to show you guys something. If you look at that, you see truckers all, the guy with the headlights on, he is so tired that he didn't even turn the headlights off. That's when you know you've been driving way too long. But as you can see, this truck stop is like jam-packed. So basically, when you come like late at night, sometimes it's hard to park. And you got to make your own parking space up. And that's exactly what I did. Now, the worst thing that can happen to me here are two things. One, a truck can come knocking on my door in the morning time, asking me to move. But I parked in a way where I think these guys can get out. Second thing I hate, and it's my pet peeve, and staff usually does it during the daytime, is when you're sleeping, they'll come bang on your door that hard. You hear how hard that is? Man, that sounds like the police knocking. Man, that scares the shit out of me, man. Make sure I ain't scare him. I can't stand it, man, when they do that. But they do that sometimes when you park kind of illegally. Sometimes as truckers, you got to get in where you fit in. Sometimes these truck stops are far and few between. You know what I mean? Anywho, what's that? Oh, that's my reefer. Oh, I thought somebody's knocking. I wanted to talk quickly about the lease purchase program here at Prime. I had some subscribers who were interested in it, so I'm gonna give you some information. Prime has a lot of divisions. They got a reefer division, which is refrigerator trucking. They have a tanker division, which pulls full grade tanker, like milk, yeast, water, wine or whatever. And then they have a flatbed division, which pulls flatbed stuff. You'll see on a flatbed. All three of those divisions can work at lease purchase. Now, how does a lease purchase work here? Okay. There's two lease purchases here. There's lease purchase, and then there's lease operator. I am a lease operator, and basically what that means is I'm borrowing the truck and working their load board. I don't own the truck, and after I complete the lease, I won't own the truck. Okay. The reasons that people do lease purchase are a couple. One, as a lease operator, you're able to determine your own schedule. So if I worked for the company, they would dictate when I have time off and when I don't. Or if I wanted to refuse a logo in a certain area, I couldn't do it as a company driver. Okay. Also, the pay structure is different. As a company driver, you get a W-2. As a lease operator, I get a 1099, which means I don't pay any taxes till the end of the year, or I pay them quarterly. Okay. Usually taxes mean more money in your check, but at the end of the day, you got to pay it back unless you have a good accountant who can write off a lot of things. And one of the things you can write off is the truck note. Okay. Being a lease operator so far at Prime has been pretty good. Lease operators here get paid 72% of the line haul, and there's no hidden fees here. So what I mean by that is, when you get your pay settlement, right, you can actually see how much Prime has made on the load. You'll see the other, 32%, or let me see, 38% that they made. And you can see your 72%. And it comes out pretty even, Steven. You can see how much the company has made off of you and how much you made. Okay. Being a lease operator is okay, but it can be a bad thing too. I mean, if you're not really ready to manage your business properly, if you take too much time off, because see here, if you wanted to, you can take off a month. I mean, you really could. You can take off a month, but just realize when you come back, you're gonna owe $5,000 or $6,000 in truck payments. Okay. I just wouldn't do it. The longest I would take off as a lease operator would be probably 2 weeks. Okay, and then there's a caveat to that too, and I'll explain in a minute. Now they have a lease purchase program here, which is pretty good from what I understand. The lease purchase program, the way that works is, say that you get hired with Prime and you start orientation on Monday. Orientation is about 3 days long here. So about Wednesday, you're out to pick a truck. And say you go pick a truck that you fall in love with, you can walk inside to Success Leasing and say, listen, I want to buy this truck. I don't want to rent it. I want to buy it. So they're going to ask you for $14,000 now. Okay. The great thing about that program is that they don't do a credit check. You can literally walk into Success Leasing and buy a brand new truck. And as long as you got the $14,000 in your pocket to give them, you can buy it and give it to them. And the truck that you're going to take out, you'll be buying it. So all your payments will go towards owning the truck. And I think the lease runs about 3 to 4 years, And from what I understand, now correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times when you guys put down money on the truck, there's usually a buyout at the end. That means that after 3 years, you might still owe $25,000 or something like that. But here at Prime, I believe once you paid it off, once the terms come to an end, the truck is yours. Now, if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, but that's my understanding of the lease purchase program here at Prime. I think it's phenomenal to a degree that you give them 14 grand. Now, you can give them less money, right? If you worked here for longer than, if you worked the lease purchase program, lease operator program, or you worked that Prime period for, any extended period. So say I worked here 7 years and I decided to go, do a lease purchase. Well, that'd be $7,000 off the down payment. So instead of me giving them $14,000, I would give them $7,000. Okay. Once the truck is paid off, it's yours, and you can do what you want with it. Now, also, here's another thing I found out. Say that you do the lease purchase program here at Prime. You give them $14,000, and then you want to you work here for about 2-3 years, and then you might not feel like it worked out for you. Okay, you might want to go with another carrier. Before you can take that truck to another carrier, they got to have a direct payment system to where Success Leasing gets their money from the carrier first. Then you get paid. Okay, then they'll allow you to take the truck. From what I understand, that could be a little bit of a headache, because you got to find an approved carrier. So, not everybody is an approved carrier. They want to make sure that the company you go work for is actually able to direct bill them so they can get their money up top. So they can make sure the truck is paid for, so they don't have to repossess it. Okay. But I don't know a lot of people who actually done that. Most people here, what they'll do is they'll do a lease operator, which I'm doing. They might run their truck for 2 or 3 years and decide, I want to buy this truck, and then give them the, I guess after 3 years, it'll be something like maybe, I don't know, what's it, 14,000, maybe $11,000 or $10,000, and then they'll pay it off in the next 2 years, depending on the mileage of the truck at the time. Okay. Both programs are pretty cool. They make ownership of a truck a little easier, and that's phenomenal because I'm gonna tell you why. I used to work for, and I hate to talk about these guys, right? But it's just the truth. I used to work for Stevens Transport, okay? And their lease program was pretty awful, and I'll explain. At first, they had a situation where you had to complete 2 lease terms in order to buy the truck. So that means that you would have to complete, 6 years before you were able to actually buy the truck. So in 6 years, if you're a trainer at Stevens or a regular driver, you probably have something like 700,000 miles on that truck before you were able to actually buy it. And then when you were buying it, you had to put down a substantial amount of money. And then at the end of the lease of the buying terms, there was a buyout price. So Stevens was basically discouraging people from doing that. Now there's people who have done that, but when they look at the numbers, they probably bought that truck like 2 or 3 times. Okay, Prime doesn't do that, which I really appreciate that part. After you get done buying the truck, it's yours. There's no major buyout at the end, and they don't try to. Even the finance charges, for buying the truck, are really low. They're not outstanding. You know what I mean? Now Stevens Transport has a thing where you can actually go into them, and if you give them $4,000, they'll give you a brand new Freightliner. Okay, but the problem is, okay, their lease terms are something like 8 years or something. So after 8 years, you can buy the truck after a buyout, whatever the residual buyout is, and it might be 25 to 30,000. So you end up doing about 10 years on that truck. You know, by the time you buy that truck will probably have well over 1 million miles. You know, I mean, these new trucks, you can put about 2 million miles on them. You know, but you know, you need to have some money saved up. You know, I mean, you want to, well, not only that, but you want to have a truck that has some warranty in it. You know, a lot of guys are asking, well, how long is the warranty on the truck? These new Freightliners that I have, I think the warranty is about 500,000 miles to 750,000 miles. You know, now that's very important, and I'll explain why. When I first got my truck, right, it had 0 miles on it. I ran it for about 5,000 miles, and I had a leakage in my engine. My coolant hoses were leaking. You know, that happens. You go to the manufacturer, they don't put them on tight enough. Okay, so basically what I did is I took it to a Freightliner dealership. Okay, pulled in there, told them what happened. They said everything's under warranty. They changed it out, gave it back to me, didn't charge me a dime. You want a truck like that. You know what I'm saying? Because these fixes at some of these dealerships are very expensive. You know, they'll charge you for parts. And they got this thing in the industry where they charge you a mandatory 2-hour labor minimum. Well, shit, 2 hours, an hour might be $110 an hour. Okay? So altogether, you walk out there $400 or $500 in, you know, paying. But when you have a warranty, they fix it. I'll give you another example. I had a manifold spring break. Now, your manifold is part of your engine. Engine intake manifold. Apparently, the bolt or spring down there had broken. And the way I know this, I was driving the truck and I was smelling engine inside my truck. I mean, it was gagging me. It would turn black in here. I mean, the engine, you know, the smoke would come inside this truck. So that was going to be a very expensive fix. But my truck is under warranty. So when I pulled into the Freightliner in Springfield, they fixed my truck in a day. Didn't charge me a dime. So, you know, when you guys buy a truck, you know what I mean, you want to buy a truck that has some warranty with it. You know what I mean? Warranty on the major stuff. Transmission, drivetrain, engine. You know, the stuff that you won't have warranty on would be like the tires, the brakes, stuff that wears, you know, mirrors, small stuff. But, you know, the electrical system, you want a warranty on that. Okay, so, you know, before you buy a truck with 1 million miles, realize you're going to come out your pocket a lot. And see, I think that's unfair. So I had a trainer who trained me at Stevens. I met up with him about 2 years ago. And I saw him in a brand new truck. I said, oh, you went and bought another truck from Stevens. Well, he goes to tell me that this truck that he had bought from Stevens, as soon as it crossed over 1,600,000 miles, the engine blew. And when the engine blown, they wanted about $35,000 to put a brand new engine in there. You know, he could have went and got a rebuilt one, but he didn't have $35,000 sitting around. So he had to start from scratch again, you know. But unlike here at Prime, you know, if I want a brand new truck and I put $14,000 down and I run solo, you know, for those 4 years, which you can do here, by the time I had that truck paid off, I'd be surprised if it had 400,000 miles on it, which I'll still have some more warranty under that. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. You know, you gotta keep that in mind if you guys want to be owner-operators out here. And you know what? Everybody wants to strive to do that. You know. So anyway, you know, I'm on my way to Springfield to pick up a training. I'm about to start training again. You know, I think it's time for me to train. That's another thing too that makes Prime pretty good. You know, you get paid percentage of the load, and while you're training, those training loads pay a lot more. So the great thing about Prime is you really don't have to train to make money here. See, a lot of guys get into trucking, and I was laughing about this earlier with my buddy, but it's a sad truth. There's guys here, let me pan this camera here. There's guys, those guys parked over there, all those guys driving. Somebody out of that whole group is literally driving around this country only making maybe minimum wage, and that's sad. There's probably guys driving around this country in a truck who probably only make $600 a week. Now some people might say that's a lot of money. Okay, when you factor in the time spent on the road, away from family, the hardships of working as a trucker, physically and mentally. I mean, this is a dangerous job. It is. It can be. And you're away from home, and you at least want to make at least $1,000 a week doing this. So that's why a lot of guys do the lease purchase program or the lease operator program, because you make top dollar, and you're able to save money or do things for your family a lot easier. Prime's minimum here for lease operators is about, I would say, between $1,800 and $2,200 a week. That's phenomenal for a lease operator. For anybody working, period. I mean, there's not a lot of 9-to-5 jobs that actually pay that. And really, as a trucker, that's what you kind of want to make. You want to make $1,000 or more. I remember years ago when I started this, this trucking adventure. My trainer had at least enough sense to tell me, he says, Rich, listen, man, you don't want to be out here for less than $1,000 a week. And at the time, I was getting paid, $300 a week as a trainee. And I was just happy to take that. I mean, jobs where I'm from are very scarce. I mean, there's people where I'm from who work in the warehouse who don't make, make about $200 or $300 a week and working 8 hours a day in the warehouse. You know what I mean? But as you become more educated in this trucking game, and you learn, the ins and outs, you really appreciate when somebody gives you some serious game. And this is what I'm doing for you guys. You want to make $1,000 a week out here. You do. Trust me, you do. If you're not making $1,000 a week trucking, you need to reevaluate who you work for. And I mean consistently. That's the thing. Consistently. A bad week out here should be $1,000. And I want to say that again. A bad week in trucking for you should be $1,000. So you should make $1,000 or more. Okay? If you're not making consistently money, you need to reevaluate who you work for. And see, my problem, and I hate to bring it up, but I hung at Stevens too long, because there were weeks where I wasn't making $300-400, and I believed those fuckers just to stay with it. But the truth was, that was a lie. That was just something to keep me there. Not until I got with a real good company like Prime, where I started making consistent money. Now, I did have some rough weeks here, and that was kind of my own thing. When I look back at it, I took time off, and that's the thing. See, when you're a lease operator or a lease purchase guy, you gotta be careful with your time off, because unfortunately that truck note is due every Monday. Okay, $1,300 is due every Monday. Okay, whether you run a load or not. So you gotta be real strategic with your time off. A lot of guys will say, well, that's why I don't want to do lease purchase or be a lease operator, because when I go home, I don't have to worry about coming out. And you know what? That's true. For some guys, but if you run cents per mile, you make sure you get with a company that keeps you at least $1,000 or more a week. If you're with a company that doesn't, then you need to reevaluate who you work for. So anyway, guys, that's my video. I just answered some questions, man. It's getting a little long here. I wanted to make this short, but it's a little long, so I'm sorry. But anyways, my next video will be coming to talk about my student. I go to pick him up tomorrow. You know, he has his license, and we're gonna run. We're gonna see how it works out. You know, I won't say last two, but last one student didn't work out too well. You know, but hopefully this guy works out really well, which I think he will. Anyway, till next time, you guys stay safe. Peace.